laid line upon line, block upon block, God's roadmap for discipleship. We have said that a critical block of discipleship is teaching and training. A critical block of discipleship is also the matters of fellowship. And then last week we began to look at the matters of growing in grace and in the knowledge of God. Now, if you follow the teaching carefully, you will find out that one will lead to the other. You will not begin to desire fellowship with God, or there will not be a yearning and longing in your heart for fellowship with God if you have not been properly taught. If the educational system of the denomination or the church which you attend is not properly structured and properly aligned with the intent and purposes of God, what that teaching will do to you is that it will make you want the wrong things. So all kinds of appetites will begin to exist within your space that are contrary to the appetites that God wants you to sustain. This is very important. The reason the average believer does not desire fellowship with God is because the kind of Christianity we have modeled in present day is the kind of Christianity that says that you can succeed outside of God. You do not need God to actually be a success in the terms or in the ways that the world measures success. You don't necessarily need to be intimate with God, for instance, for you to be wealthy. You don't necessarily need to be intimate with God, for instance, for you to get a job. Even people who serve Satan get jobs weekly. Even people who serve Ogboni, who do Igbe, who do all kinds of things, contest for political offices. All kinds of things exist. You don't necessarily need to be intimate with God to become successful in the eyes of the world. So what has happened in modern day Christianity is curriculum or curricula have been developed in such a way that you can appear to be succeeding outside of the priorities of God. In fact, we can look at your life and begin to envy what you have, and yet when you are put in the scales of the Lord's measurement, it now begins to become obvious that you have not become what God intended. And the whole game is everything is tied to the teaching. If you've been here since we started, I have said to you that what a true Bible teaching is supposed to do is generate hunger in your heart for the truth. Teaching and training is supposed to make you hungry for God. Not the things that God can give, but God himself. That's what teaching and training is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you hungry for God. But what Satan has successfully done, and it has troubled me for a long time, how he was able to do it, is that he has corrupted our doctrinal manual. So that the average believer sits in church week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and what the believer comes out of church with is not a hunger for God. There's hunger for breakthrough, there's hunger for miracles, there's hunger for signs and wonders, there's hunger for the prophetic. They need somebody to see into their lives. There's hunger to fight their enemies and win all the battles of their lives. But after consistent exposure to teaching, there's no genuine hunger for God. This is why the average believer is struggling to build consistent fellowship with God. sweet and will be deep. It must flow from a sincere place. And the sincere place must be a place of total desire for God alone. Are you with me? Yes. Total desire for God alone. So your quest in pursuing intimacy with God is not a quest to validate your pursuit by something that God gives you. So you're not going to say that your journey into God became successful because you bought a car. You're not going to say that your journey into God became a success because you got married. The measurement of that journey flows out of the fact that there is a sincerity in your heart to apprehend God.